The awakening. There comes a day when you just can't take it anymore, not because you're frail, not because you're spiteful, but because you've finally glimpsed your own worth. You've poured your soul into folks who tossed you scraps in return. You've held your tongue while others trampled your dignity. And deep within, your heart murmured, "You're destined for better." Here's the real talk. Disrespect isn't always loud arguments or sharp jabs. Sometimes it's the subtle neglect. People who overlook your spirit, milk your kindness dry, or grin to your face while dimming your glow behind your back. But let me drop some truth. How people treat you mirrors what you've permitted. When you rise, not with venom, not with fury, but with a steady, unbreakable belief in yourself, everything changes. Your vibe shifts. Your presence speaks louder than any speech could. You stop begging to be noticed because your aura demands it. You quit justifying your value because your standards do the talking. If you've ever felt invisible, undervalued, or dismissed, this is your turning point. This is where you become someone no one dares to cross again. The power of boundaries. There's something holy about knowing your limits, about seeing where your space ends and another's begins. Too often, we let those lines fade. We nod when our gut screams no. We stay silent when our soul aches to roar. We let others step on our peace, convincing ourselves that's what love or duty looks like. But love without boundaries is a slow betrayal of your own heart. If you don't show people how to respect you, they'll handle you however they please. And they won't even see the damage because you never said, "This stops here." You never stood tall and declared, "I'm worth more." Boundaries aren't cruel. They're not selfish. They're essential. They're how you guard your spirit, your energy, your purpose. When you start drawing those lines, you might lose some folks, but you'll gain your freedom. You might be misjudged, but you'll find your peace. And trust me, peace trumps anyone's approval. You don't need to yell to set a boundary. It can be as quiet as ignoring that text, closing that door, or walking away. A boundary is a sacred pause where you choose yourself first. The strength in silence. You don't need to shout to make a boundary stick. You don't need to justify it with shaky words or apologies. A boundary can be as simple as not picking up that call, not engaging in that fight, not feeding that drama. It's a silent stand where you put yourself first. People might say you've changed, call you distant or cold. Don't let it twist you. You're not harsh, you're clear. You're done with disrespect dressed up as love. You're done with connections that drain instead of lift. When you stop stretching yourself thin for those who never meet you halfway, you discover the power of no. That single word is a fortress when you need protection, a mirror reflecting your worth. It's the start of a new story where you stop breaking yourself to keep others whole. You used to think kindness meant always saying yes, always giving, even when it hurt. But kindness without boundaries breeds resentment, burnout, a version of you that's exhausted, wondering why no one cares about your needs. The healing choice. Here's the truth. People aren't mind readers. They'll keep taking until you say enough. When you draw that line, you're not being selfish. You're being wise. You're showing up for yourself the way you've always shown up for others. That's not betrayal. That's healing. That's balance. That's growth. And when you choose that path, you'll feel something you haven't in ages. Wholeness. You'll stop chasing love through sacrifice, stop shrinking to buy peace. You'll start walking with a new rhythm, one that says, "I know who I am." That kind of stride shifts the air around you. You can love someone fiercely and still say no more. You can forgive and still create distance. You can wish them well and still lock the gate behind them. Boundaries don't mean you're bitter. They mean you're brave enough to choose yourself. Every line you draw screams, "I know my worth." And even if they don't get it, even if they walk away, let them. The ones who truly honor you won't see your boundaries as walls. They'll see them as shields protecting your light. The courage to stand firm. When you stand in your power, life looks different. You stop chasing love, begging for respect, proving your value, because your boundaries already speak for you. The hardest boundaries to set are often with those closest to you. Family, old friends, people woven into your history. You don't want to hurt them, you dread the guilt. But listen, closeness doesn't grant a free pass to wound you. Just because they've known you forever doesn't mean they get to ignore your needs. Blood doesn't excuse crossing your emotional lines without consequence. Boundaries aren't just for strangers, they're for anyone who threatens your peace, your purpose, your mental health. When you look those people in the eye and say, "I love you, but I love me too," something shifts. You stop shrinking to keep the family happy. You stop betraying yourself to save a friendship. That's where your healing begins, where you build a life where your spirit can breathe. The freedom of letting go. You weren't born to be everyone's savior. You weren't made to be always available. Your soul craves rest. Your mind needs quiet. Your heart demands truth. Boundaries give you all of that. When you start saying no without explaining, turning off your phone without guilt, canceling plans because you need solitude, that's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's spiritual growth. That's self-care on a soul level. Some won't get it, but they don't need to. The only one who needs to understand your boundaries is you. No one else walks your path. No one else carries your weight. If you don't guard your peace, no one will. So protect it like it's sacred, because it is. Guard your time, your space, your emotional energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. When you stop apologizing for your boundaries, you attract people who respect them. When you stand firm, you stop entertaining those who only take. You become a filter, not a sponge, letting go of chaos and keeping what serves your soul. The transformation within. When you draw that line in the sand and say, "This is me," people treat you differently. Not because they changed, but because you did. You decided your energy is too precious to waste on anything less than your purpose. That choice changes everything. I know it's tough. You've been taught that being nice means being available, that love means sacrifice, that loyalty means enduring pain. But let me challenge that. Real love doesn't demand you abandon yourself. Real loyalty doesn't mean tolerating abuse. Kindness should never cost your soul. Setting boundaries might feel awkward at first. You'll doubt yourself. But discomfort is part of growth. Boundaries stretch your spirit into a new kind of strength, a quiet, graceful power. When you lean into that, you stop fearing others' reactions. You stop needing permission to protect yourself. You give yourself grace to grow without guilt. With every boundary you set, your life becomes more aligned, more peaceful, more powerful. The cost of growth. You don't owe anyone access to you just because they're used to having it. Your growth might ruffle feathers, especially those who thrived on your silence. Your boundaries might frustrate those who crossed them freely. Let them feel uneasy. Let them adjust or leave. You're not living for their applause anymore. You're living for peace. You're crafting a life that nurtures your soul, honors your purpose, and reflects the love you've finally turned inward. When self-love becomes your foundation, you don't chase, you don't shrink, you don't beg. You rise. You walk into rooms like you belong. You speak with clarity. You rest without guilt. You embrace a freedom that can't be bought, only claimed, one boundary at a time. If you're tired, disrespected, or overlooked, don't wait for others to change. Don't hold your breath for apologies that may never come. Stand up with quiet courage, with a presence that says, "I matter." Once you show up like you matter, the world takes notice. The end of over-explaining. There's a moment when you realize not everyone deserves your voice. You've spent so long trying to explain yourself, to be understood, to make people see the heart behind your choices, the pain behind your silence, the fire behind your path. But here's the deal. If someone's set on misunderstanding you, no amount of words will shift their mind. You keep showing up to conversations where your soul isn't safe, sharing your truth with people who listen only to argue, not to hear. You're giving away your peace, one pointless explanation at a time. Today, stop. Stop over-explaining your boundaries. Stop defending your dreams. Stop justifying your healing. When someone's truly for you, they won't need a novel to respect your no. They'll feel your energy, see your heart, and honor your choices. You don't owe clarity to those who thrive on your confusion. You don't owe truth to those who twist it. You don't owe peace to those who bring chaos every time you speak. The liberation of silence. There's freedom in letting go of the need to be understood. Stop trying to make the blind see your light. Some people don't want to hear you. They want to drain you, twist your words, exhaust your spirit. They do it not because they're confused, but because control feels safer than respect. The moment you stop chasing their approval, stop bending your voice to dodge their judgment, that's when your power ignites. That's when your energy shifts. That's when they realize you're done playing their game. You've tried. Heaven knows you've tried. You've had the talks, sent the texts, poured out your heart, begged to be seen. But they didn't hear you. Not because your words weren't clear, but because their hearts were closed. Their ears weren't blocked. They were biased. When someone's already decided who you are, your truth becomes noise. So why waste your breath? Why bleed for those who pretend not to see your wounds? Stop explaining, not out of spite, but because you've chosen peace over performance. The power of walking away. Let them think what they want. Let them spin their stories. Their opinion of you isn't your burden. You weren't born to be understood by everyone. You were born to walk your purpose. Sometimes that walk looks odd to those stuck in survival. You don't need to slow down to make them comfortable. You don't need to dim your light to ease their shadows. When you stop explaining, you reclaim your time, your dignity, your energy. You start attracting people who don't need essays to understand your silence, who don't need proof to respect your choices. That's when you know you're aligned, not because everyone claps, but because your spirit feels at home in its truth. Some people ask questions not to learn, but to judge. They poke holes in your logic, not because they care, but because they want to tear you down. They feign confusion to keep you doubting, spinning, explaining. The more you explain, the more they twist. It's a trap. Break free. The clarity of discernment. Real ones don't need you to defend your growth. They see it, respect it, even if they don't fully get it. Your peace is louder than their gossip, their doubts, their assumptions. Stop giving front row seats to those who came to criticize. You've got a calling, a mission, a story still unfolding. Don't pause it every time someone says, "I don't understand." Some weren't meant to get it. Some don't belong in your next chapter. Stop dragging old characters into a new season. If they valued you, they'd ask to learn, not argue. If they saw you, they wouldn't need a PowerPoint to recognize your journey. Let go of the need to fix every misunderstanding. You can be misjudged and still be righteous. You can be misunderstood and still be purposeful. Don't let their confusion cloud your clarity. Don't let their silence make you doubt your voice. Walk boldly, unapologetically, because when your peace is divine, it doesn't matter who misses it. The strength of self-validation. Sometimes we explain because we crave their validation, their approval, their love. But freedom begins when you stop needing permission to be you. You show up not for applause, but for alignment. You say no without writing a thesis. You walk away without filing a report. When someone asks why you didn't call back, why you didn't stay, you say, "Because I chose me." That's the whole story. You're no longer performing, proving, or pleading. You're living. Living in a way that honors your truth, trusts your gut, and protects your spirit. That's rare, powerful, divine. You're not here to unpack your pain for every passerby. Your journey is sacred. Your healing is private. Your peace is priceless. Share it with those who nurture it, offer it to those who earn it, but don't waste it on those who've already decided your worth. You're not their rumors, their projections, their opinions. Your light, your purpose, your strength. The magnetism of authenticity. If they can't see your light, let them sit in their darkness. Your job isn't to drag them into clarity, it's to shine regardless. When you shine, the right ones come, not because you explained yourself, but because your light called them. Connection feels like peace. Confusion feels like exhaustion. Choose peace every time. You'll outgrow people, places, conversations, and that's okay. You don't need to explain your distance or your silence. Growth often looks like isolation before it blooms into elevation. In that quiet, you hear your own voice again. You remember what it feels like to be whole without constant justification. That's your real power, not in defending yourself, but in defining yourself. You're not trapped by anyone's misunderstanding. You're not stuck fixing what they refuse to see. Let them talk, wonder, gossip. But don't let them hold your peace hostage. The revolution of silence. Your spirit owes no one an explanation. Walk in truth without apology. Speak with conviction. Act with clarity. When you're misjudged, breathe deeper. When you're questioned, choose peace over proving. The loudest truth isn't in your words, it's in your energy, your choices, your silence. You've explained enough. Now live. There's a power in silence people rarely mention, a force so deep it doesn't need volume to be felt. Silence isn't weakness or retreat, it's strategy,